Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're diving headfirst into one of the most chaotic, thrilling, and, let's be honest, incredibly lonely resets in comic book history. We're talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day, the worst first day ever. We're going to break down exactly what happens when Peter Parker wakes up to a completely erased history in New York City and the massive emotional and physical toll this bizarre new reality takes on him. So let's just get right into it. I want you to put yourself in Peter's shoes for just a second here. Imagine waking up to find you've got no girlfriend, no best friend, and absolutely zero memory of you even exist in the minds of the people you care about. The world has essentially hit the factory reset button. But here's the absolute kicker. Somehow, despite literally no one knowing who you are, you still have to pay rent. Being Spider-Man in this brand new reality is basically a full-time job with absolutely terrible benefits. Which brings us to Section 1, the worst first day. So as the sun comes up over Manhattan, Peter tries to tackle this fresh start with, a new attitude. But the universe? Yep, it has other plans. He swings around a building, crashes face first into a giant billboard, and gets immediately judged by a random New York pigeon. It perfectly illustrates this really harsh contrast that defines his life right now. On one hand, you've got the high-flying, unstoppable Spider-Man. But on the other, you have the reality of Peter Parker standing in a tiny apartment, staring into an incredibly sad, empty refrigerator. The overwhelming problem he's facing before a supervillain even bothers to show up is that he is completely, utterly broke. And what exactly does broke look like for our friendly neighborhood hero? Well, his inventory is pretty grim. We're talking half a bottle of ketchup, one single egg, and something he's only pretty sure used to be cheese. Crime fighting is definitely a whole lot harder when you're running on fumes. He literally tells himself that this job would be so much easier with groceries. But of course, before he can even process how hungry he is, his spider sense interrupts. Duty calls. Moving right along to Section 2, the mysterious black machine. Peter swings out across the city and stumbles onto this massive disturbance. Cars are abandoned in the street, people are running away in terror, and sitting right smack in the center of it all is this strange black machine covered in glowing blue lights. Ever the optimist, Peter drops this absolutely classic line. Okay, either I'm looking at a very expensive toaster, or this is going to be a problem. And surprise, surprise, the machine quickly proves it is definitely not a toaster. It suddenly activates, sending out this massive shockwave that literally throws Spider-Man across the street and smashes him right into a parked car. And from the smoke, a mysterious figure emerges. Now, Spider-Man does what Spider-Man does best. He tries to joke his way through the whole encounter. He points out that most people usually introduce themselves before blowing up the neighborhood. But the figure doesn't say a word. Instead, it unleashes this relentless attack that sends Peter's spider sense into total overdrive. Peter's barely dodging, swinging, and flipping to land right behind the stranger, just trying to force a conversation. When the figure finally turns around, they deliver this chilling line. "You don't remember me?" Peter asks if he should, and the figure just says no and vanishes into thin air, leaving Peter completely baffled. Let's dig into Section 3, Ghosts from the Past. Later that night, Peter decides he needs to investigate the tech behind that strange machine, essentially turning what felt like a random street brawl into a deeply personal mystery. He figures out that someone has been secretly building tech to detect unusual energy signatures across New York. But here is the part that makes his blood run cold. The data keeps pointing directly back to him. The target name popping up on the screen is Peter Parker. He just stares at it, because, as far as he knows, this should be impossible. A recent reality-altering spell had erased literally everyone's memory of Peter Parker's secret identity. Everyone forgot, except for him. So who in the world is tracking him? Suddenly, his computer screen flickers, and this incredibly creepy message flashes right in front of him. You were never supposed to be forgotten. Okay, so this officially kicks the mystery into high gear. Peter realizes right then and there he isn't just dealing with some random tech villain. He's dealing with someone directly connected to the history that was supposed to be completely erased. He grabs his mask, and the hunt is on. What follows is this rapid, incredibly cinematic pursuit through the city. Within seconds, Peter is swinging through Times Square. Minutes later, he's dodging helicopters, moving at absolute breakneck speed. But right in the middle of all this chaos, we get this perfect classic Spider-Man moment. He manages to save a hot dog vendor from dropping his cart. The grateful vendor actually offers him a free hot dog, and Peter is just thrilled that someone finally appreciates superheroes. But the very second he takes it, his spider sense screams at him. An explosion rocks the street, forcing him to throw the hot dog up in the air, catch it in his mouth, and swing right back into the action. The chase finally comes to a head on top of a skyscraper, where Peter corners the mysterious figure. With nowhere left to run, Peter demands to know who they are. The figure pulls back their hood. Peter recognizes the face, but he just can't place it. The figure smiles and says, "I'm someone from the life you lost." And suddenly, dozens of screens around the rooftop light up, flashing memories Peter doesn't even remember having. Old battles, old friendships, an entire life that simply disappeared. When Peter asks what he did to deserve this, the screen just answers, "You survived." Which brings us to our final act, Section 4, the ultimate choice. The machine activates again, and this time, raw energy begins spreading out across New York City. Peter quickly puts the pieces together and deduces the horrifying truth of what's actually happening. You see, the machine wasn't just built to reveal who Peter Parker is to the public. Its true purpose is to undo the spell entirely. It detects his unique energy, uses it to activate a massive citywide field, and its ultimate end goal is to bring back those erased memories to millions of people. If it succeeds, the entire city will remember everything that happened before the reset. This brings Peter to the ultimate crossroads. On one hand, he could just sit back, let the machine run, and get his old life back. His friends, his loved ones, his entire history, it would all return. But on the other hand, doing so would completely disrupt the lives of millions of people who have finally been able to move forward from the trauma of the past. Think about that for a second. What would you do? Would you let your deepest desires be fulfilled, or would you protect the peace of everyone else? Peter looks at the machine, he looks out at the city below, and he remembers the core philosophy Uncle Ben taught him. With great power comes great responsibility. He pulls his mask back down and acknowledges that being Spider-Man means choosing what he calls the hard option, putting the needs of others before his own desires. So, exhausted and battered, Spider-Man dodges lasers, destroys security drones, and fights his way through the energy field for one last, desperate swing. He launches himself directly into the machine. Boom! The machine shatters into pieces, the energy vanishes, and the city goes completely, eerily silent. Peter is left free-falling through the sky, but at the last possible second, he fires a web, catches a building, and swings safely away. Landing on a rooftop, he takes a moment to watch the sunrise. And for the first time in this story, he smiles. He realizes his old life might be gone forever, but he's secured a brand new day for everyone else. But just as he looks over New York, ready to fully embrace this new beginning, his spider sense suddenly tingles again. He just sighs and says, "Of course." As he jumps off the building into his next adventure, we're left with a really chilling final note. Somewhere beneath the streets, something else has awakened. And this time, Peter isn't the one doing the hunting. He is the one being watched. So I'm going to leave you with this to consider. When you've sacrificed your entire past to protect the city's future, how do you fight an enemy that remembers the history you've chosen to forget? What crazy thing do you think is going to happen on the next wait?